Well, welcome back to my channel. Today we're going to be talking about part 2 of how your metabolism can influence your long-term fat goals. So in part 1, I just explained kind of the basics of metabolism. So let's talk about today. Last time I left you, we had left off stating that a lot of us kind of get into this cycle where we end up with a low amount of daily calories, and that could come from a few different ways. That could be you are purposefully trying to restrict your calories in an attempt to lose weight. However, you've been doing this for so long, you're no longer really seeing results whenever you do that, and you're just kind of at a state of constant maybe fatigue, or you're just unable to sustain that calorie deficit for long periods of time. Because it's unsustainable, because your calories are already adapted to such a low amount that pushing them any lower is really endangering to your health, but also it's so restrictive in your food options that maybe you're able to restrict yourself so far for 3 or 4 days, maybe a week, and then you go out to dinner with friends. You thought, oh, you're just gonna have a salad, but your friends order fries, your friends order a burger. You decide, what the hell, I'm out to dinner with my friends, I'm gonna eat that burger, I'm gonna eat fries. You come home, you eat ice cream, etc., etc. My point is that you spend days restricting, and then you have periods of time where you are eating a lot of food, and that food, you're getting a lot of excess calories from those foods, and so you're not really staying in a deficit for a long enough time to see further fat loss. And we don't want you to be in a place like that. We don't want you to be in a place where you feel like you have to eat lettuce, breakfast, lunch, and dinner to start seeing progress. It's super limited, and just your quality of life is so poor. This could also happen if you are kind of like a yo-yo dieter. Okay, you guys, I gave it my all. The vibes outside were so nice, but lo and behold, I live in New York City and there's just way too much noise going on out there for me to record. I keep having to stop. So yo-yo dieting. So some of you might have been able to stick to a diet that maybe isn't quite right for you, but you heard that so-and-so got amazing results from it, so you wanted to give it a try, and maybe you were able to stick with it for a few days, maybe a week, maybe 2 weeks, and then for whatever reason, you weren't able to stick to that diet anymore. You kind of eat normally for a period of time. Maybe you see that you have gained some weight from that, from just your normal eating behaviors or eating to satiety, and so you decide that it's time for you to go on another diet. And kind of the same thing happens, and it just kind of becomes this negative loop of dieting, eating normal, and actually eating the things that you enjoy, dieting, eating normal, right? It's also possible that at this point your body has also adapted to kind of a lower set of calories, and dieting in the extremes isn't right for you, or the diet itself isn't quite right for you. We also get the instance or the person that may have had a lot of success with a particular diet. Maybe they started doing some running, they started doing some resistance training, they did something where they cut out carbs and it really worked for them. They lost 45 pounds. And it was great. However, now they can't lose weight anymore. And so now if they are even trying to attempt to lose weight, how are they going to restrict their carbs even further? If they're already at a super low amount of carbs, where are their calories coming from? If I am a low carb person and I'm eating yogurt in the morning, I'm eating chicken breast and some broccoli for lunch, and then for dinner I'm eating steak with a side of more vegetables, or a salad, whatever. How am I going to start cutting less from that that's still in a healthy manner? Do you know what I'm saying? So maybe they successfully cut out carbs in the beginning because they had more carbs to cut out from, but now you're kind of at a plateau. You're not seeing weight loss anymore, and you don't really have more room to cut your calories. You're looking at your mealy day plans and you're like, I don't really know where to cut out my food. So then you also start to become super restrictive, and it's not enjoyable, and it's also not adherable. So all of these examples are places that might have led you up to this point where It's possible your metabolism has just adapted to a decrease in calories. You just don't have much room to cut from that without being miserable. And most likely you're going to fail decreasing your calories from this point for multiple weeks at a time. I think the interesting thing about a lot of diets is that they don't talk about Fight Club. You shouldn't stay in a diet. Whenever you diet down, whenever you are going through a fat loss phase, again, because of all these compensatory mechanisms that we've talked about, and the fact that your metabolism will adapt to your lower calories eventually, you can't keep cutting your calories any further. So a lot of these diets that talk about keto diet, carb diet, blah, 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 what do you do whenever you've reached that point where you've cut out all the carbs you can cut out and you're hardly eating anything, but you still want to lose 30 pounds? What do? The solution is to actually eat more. I know it sounds crazy. The solution truly is to start introducing more calories, and we want our metabolism to adapt in a positive cycle. So your metabolism was able to adapt to a negative cycle. That's why a lot of people can see fat loss and weight loss whenever they cut out food groups to begin with, it ends up being a form of calorie restriction. So at this point, whenever you don't have any calories to get any further, this is a point where you want these positive adapting mechanisms to come into play. Your first solution is to start introducing more calories slowly but surely. You don't want to just dump a ton of calories onto your body because your metabolism won't be able to adapt in a day or two. We talked about that in the last video. You want to slowly introduce calories so that your metabolism can start to adapt. And it will adapt through all of its energy mechanisms that we talked about earlier. So it can adapt positively with NEAT. So non-exercise activity thermogenesis. The same way that your metabolism will slow your NEAT down whenever it starts to get a depletion of calories, it can increase your NEAT as you fuel your body with more calories. Some populations aren't as prone to increasing their NEAT as other populations. Some people will very much spontaneously increase their NEAT a lot. Some people, NEAT isn't going to account for too much for them, but it is still kind of on that positive cycle. TEF will also increase. The more food that you are ingesting and you have to chew, you have to digest it, the more energy your body has to expend to digest that much in food. True, your NEAT and your TEF don't account for a high amount of calories, but they will start to speed up. So what can happen is if I introduce 70 calories into my day for 1 week, that small increase in my 70 calories, it's not going to go straight to weight gain. It's not going to be 70 calories straight going to be deposited towards a calorie or towards a pound of fat. That's actually not how it works. If you're introducing slowly enough, then your metabolism can start to adapt with increased NEAT and increased TEF. So even though I introduced 70 more calories a day, I might actually start to move more. I might fidget more. And like we said, you're starting to burn more calories from just eating and digesting, so they balance out a little bit. So at this point, whenever you are starting to introduce more calories, this is a really great time to take advantage of your training and take advantage of resistance training, especially. You are at a prime time as you start to introduce more food and more fuel to start to build muscle. And as we talked about in our first video, building muscle mass is going to be incredibly beneficial to boost your calories in general. Building muscle mass onto your frame is increasing your BMR. It's increasing your basal metabolic rate so that your BMR has a higher calorie set point than if you had less muscle mass. But also, muscle mass is great because muscle mass is super dense and it actually takes up less space than fat does. So you are able to put mass onto your body, which again is going to let you, in the end, eat more calories. However, instead of that mass being fatty tissue, it's going to be lean tissue where you're getting the benefits of you're creating shape in your body. You're going to look leaner. Side by side, these two photos are taken like over 10 years apart. In both of these photos, I weigh 130 pounds, but you can see that my figure looks pretty different. And the difference is that on that first photo, I wasn't paying attention to my protein intake. I hadn't done any sort of resistance training. I was doing a lot of yoga at the time, actually, and I was cycling around as my commuter. In the second photo, I have been resistance training kind of in a more regimented and a much smarter way for 2 years. So if you're really focused on your resistance training, you have a higher rate of calories that are going to go towards muscle tissue. It's not all of your calories. It's not 100% of your calories. It's not even 100% of your protein that you're intaking that will go to that, but you are still on your way to help building up muscle mass. And again, building up muscle mass is going to help you positively adapt. If you are introducing calories too quickly, too soon, you're just going to see a little bit more fat deposition. And that's going to be different for everybody. Everybody's metabolisms are different. I can't tell you that adding in 70 calories a week is going to be too much or too little. It doesn't work like that. You have to use other measurements to help you determine what's a good amount for you and what might be overboard. And to the credit that we can't keep adapting our metabolism negatively forever and ever, your body wants to keep you alive. The same thing is that you can't keep adapting your metabolism positively to infinity either. Let's use the water in a glass example. Here we go. So if this is me as a human, this is my total volume, and I keep filling this with water, it's gonna spill over, right? There's only so much that I can contain because, again, the calories that you need in a day are based off of your mass, your bone density, how much your organs weigh, your muscle mass, the fatty tissue. All of those are this container, right? There's only so much you as a container need. Me as a 5'1" container, there are only going to be so many calories that I can consume because I can't grow, I can't get taller, right? My bone mass isn't going to change a lot. Yeah, those are things that I can't really change. So my container is relatively the same. And even though we can positively adapt some of these things like NEAT, we can positively influence our BMR and TEF. And with resistance training, you are also burning calories through resistance training. There's still only so many calories that my body can hold on to. So whereas in the instance where water would just overflow in the cup and no big deal, you still have a nice full glass. In the human body, it doesn't work that way. Those excess calories don't just disappear and go to nowhere. Those excess calories that aren't going towards muscle building, that aren't going towards TEF, like towards digesting, that aren't going towards little fidgety movements and aren't going towards my dedicated exercise, then those calories are going to be deposited as fat. And that's why you want to be mindful of the rate at which you start to introduce your calories. On the conservative level, you can think of adding 0.2 to 0.5% of your total daily calories, what you're eating right now, your daily calories. And then weight, check in after a week, check your weight, check your body measurements, see if you stayed relatively the same. And then if you stayed about the same, then that would be a really great point for you to maybe introduce a little bit more calories. I'll actually give you an example right now. I'm at the point now where I am trying to reverse diet. I'm trying to get my calories back up without excess fat gain. So I've added in the past couple of weeks 200 calories into my diet. I just weighed myself the other day and I weighed 130 pounds. So a couple weigh-ins that I had, I weighed 132, 131, 131, and now 130. So even though it looked like I gained weight on one of those days, I didn't actually gain fat. And that's kind of a trajectory that's really important to keep in mind. Whether you're on a positive adaptation or negative adaptation, it's not going to be a linear up or a linear down. It might be a little bit of a stair step. So one of the incredible benefits about starting to introduce more calories into your body is that it also affects other things that aren't just your TEF and your NEAT and your exercise. You tend to sleep better. You tend to recover better because you're getting more quality sleep, hopefully, and you are able to recover a little bit better. It's probably a bit easier to manage your stress levels. Poor sleep is linked to high stress levels and poor hunger regulation. Like I said, I had started out around 1,600 calories, and me, myself, my goal is to work myself up to maybe 2,300 calories whenever you're introducing calories slowly at a time. It is a reverse diet to get your metabolism from down here to up here. That's what we're doing. I wanted to do something pretty something on the conservative side, so I decided a rate at 0.04% would be pretty good for me, and that just equates to about 70 calories a week that I can introduce. So if I do that, then it should take me about 8 weeks to get up to 2,300 calories. That's not an exact science. It's not necessarily going to be 70 calories every single week. That's again why you monitor other things like your weight, how you're feeling, your sleep, circumference measurements, how are you feeling in your workouts, how are you handling your stress, etc., etc. All of those things are going to come into play. And then I might decide in any given day that if I'm super hungry, I'm not going to purposefully restrict my calories. Even if that is over my daily calorie goal, I will still eat until I'm satiated, and my metabolism might still balance that number out. So like I said, I was able to introduce about 200 calories so far, and my weight is back down to 130 pounds. That's a really good sign that I can keep pushing my calories even higher. So let's say that I have reached my maintenance calories all the way up to 2,300 calories. I'm not gaining weight, I'm not losing weight. I am sitting pretty at 2,300 calories in a day. Now from this point, now if I enter a fat loss phase and I decreased 300 calories, I still have 2,000 calories in a day to eat. That is far less restrictive than our example in our first video where we cut down to 1,300 calories a day in order to lose fat. 2,000 calories a day is eating way more food and having a little bit more food freedom than eating 1,300 calories a day. So we go into a dedicated fat loss phase from 2,300 calories. I'm throwing 300 calories out here as an example of a calorie deficit. It's not what every person is going to need for their calorie deficit, and it might change. Even for me, I might start out at 300 and my deficit might add up to all the way up to 400 calories because again of these adaptive mechanisms. It's not just about 300 calories is a magic number. I'm just throwing that out there as a number. So now you enter in a dedicated fat loss phase. And I say dedicated fat loss phase because I'm not going to keep reducing my calories on and on forever and ever. I'm going to do this for a period of time, and I'm going to set that time. So let's say I wanted to do this for 8 weeks. So that means I'm going to start taking 300 calories immediately out of my maintenance calories. So now I'm eating about 2,000 calories a day. Well, what did we talk about in the first video? We talked about our negative adaptations for metabolism. So again, your metabolism is going to start to negatively adapt to the lower number. So your NEAT might go down, your TEF is going to go down because you're ingesting less food, you're consuming less, and then your BMR might go down as well because you start to lose fat mass. That's going to cause your BMR to go down, but you also might cause some muscle loss, and that is going to cause your BMR to go down. To be clear, we want to keep our muscle mass as much as possible. So it's really important during this time to continue your resistance training. You don't want to get rid of that. You don't want to just add in a bunch of cardio and forget your weights. That's absolutely not what you should be doing. You should be telling your body to hold on to as much muscle mass as possible. Because again, having more muscle mass on your body is one, keeping your metabolism at a higher rate so you are still able to get more calories into your diet. That muscle is also what you're looking for. You're wanting to keep shape in your body and get that like lean toned look. That in part is coming from having muscle mass on your figure. So I'm able to do this for 8 weeks. I started off at my 300 calories. Because of those negative adaptations, my body is starting to adapt to the decrease in calories. So whereas originally I was at a 300 calorie deficit, maybe after a few weeks time, my new maintenance level has actually adapted down to 2100 calories. So if my new maintenance is at 2100 calories and my deficit is only at 2000 calories, now my real deficit is just by 100 calories. So my progress might be slowing down a lot at this point. It would be up to me to judge if I want to push it a little bit further, or if I feel like I'm getting the results that I wanted and I feel okay. So if I do decide to push it a little bit further, well, now I'm only technically at the 100 calorie deficit. Maybe I put myself in another 100 calorie deficit so that my deficit is 200 calories. So if my metabolism had adapted to 2100 calories, I'm going to subtract 200 calories so that my new deficit that I'm going to be eating at is 1900 calories. Do you see, I had to change and I had to go back and increase my deficit to continue seeing results, because my weight loss was going to plateau because my metabolism adapted to the lower number. That's another really big mistake I think that people make with weight loss, is they're not really paying attention to that. They just kind of cut out food groups, or they stop doing something, or they add a ton of cardio to create a deficit. But then whenever their deficit stops working for them because of these adaptive mechanisms, they don't really know what to do and how to change it. That might last me my whole 8 weeks, and the results that I'm getting in my 8 weeks, I'm really happy with my results. Do I want to stay eating at 1900 calories? Hell no. I had to cut out certain foods that I had been used to eating, and certain treats, certain enjoyments to get to that 1900 calories. I don't want to stay there. I want to enjoy cake. I want to enjoy cookies. I want to go out with my friends once in a while and have some drinks. I want to enjoy more food. So instead of staying here and running my metabolism into the ground because maybe I wasn't quite happy yet with my fat loss results, maybe I still want to lose more, I'm not going to stay at this point in the deficit. What am I going to do? I'm going to reverse diet again. I'm going to slowly start to introduce calories back and work my metabolism back up until I am at least at my previous maintenance level, which in this instance was 2300 calories. The rate that I choose to introduce calories is going to affect how much fat I have. Of course, I want to minimize fat gain as much as possible, so I'm going to introduce calories slowly at a time and reach my maintenance level, and then maybe I decide that I want to go beyond my maintenance, so I spend even more weeks slowly introducing more calories beyond my maintenance. So let's say I was able to get my new maintenance all the way up to 2600 calories. So now if I go back into a fat loss phase and I subtract 300 calories again, now I have 2300 calories to eat in a day while going through a fat loss phase. That's amazing. So the key is to really understand that your metabolism is going to compensate, but you can use those compensations with you, not against you. And then also know that you shouldn't stay in any phase for too long. You cannot keep staying in a fat loss phase forever and ever. You're gonna plateau. And I know a lot of you already know that you're in a plateau, but you don't want to accept that you're in a plateau. And so you keep doing these extreme things that you can't really stick to. And then you wonder why you're not losing fat anymore. It's because your metabolism has adapted and you're just in a place where you can't decrease your calories any further. So your solution is, recap. Your solution, whenever your calories have adapted super low, you stop seeing progress in your weight loss journey, you're feeling fatigued, you're having a lot of cravings, you feel super stressed, you're not sleeping well, you're not recovering from any of your workouts, you overall feel like shit. What do? You reverse diet. You slowly introduce more calories so that your metabolism positively adapts to the new calories. And that is going to set off a positive loop with your metabolism. You continue resistance training, or you add resistance training if you haven't already. You focus on your protein intake and spend time reversing your calories back up. And then from there, then you can do a dedicated fat loss phase, reverse again so that your calories go back up. And then if you still want to do a fat loss phase, if you're still wanting to lose weight, do another cut phase. Reverse diet out of it, rinse and repeat. Whew. Okay guys, I think I said lots and lots here. I'm gonna have a time editing this guy. I hope you guys found this video super helpful. I think while the process isn't magic, I think it's magic. This is something it took me a very long time to understand. If you are at a phase where you are ready to make a change for yourself and you are really trying to hit your long-term wellness goals, physique goals, then I am here for one-on-one coaching. I will put my website link in the description box below, and then hopefully we can work together. I also am gonna put my ebook down. I put it in the first video, but it'll be available in this video again. It's just a recap of everything that I talked about in these 2 metabolism videos. So that is free for you guys as well. Reference it whenever you need to, whenever you are starting to kind of digest this information for yourself and maybe you want to put it into practice for yourself. Look that over. I am signing off, and I will see you guys in the next video.